I think I'll read back a little bit here. All right. Rahman then asked, well, doesn't the Quran tell us to believe what Muhammad says, which is why we are to believe in the Hadith, and the saying in the Hadith? Right, said the Quran Jesus. Rahman went on and said, if Jews and Christians really are really sinful due to being the best of deceivers, wrong. Only Allah is the best of deceivers, said the Quran Jesus. Wrong. Only Allah is the best of deceivers, said the Quran Jesus, with a smile and closed eyes. Oh, okay, closed eyes. I put closed eyes. Yeah. Oh shoot. I dropped my laptop. Okay. All right. Is this still recording? Yeah. Rahman continued with, well, if they really are evil, being that they are taking on the sins of really evil Muslims, since their sins are heavy as mountains. Well, doesn't that contradict the clear signs, the Quran, when the Quran says, say, shall I seek a Lord other than Allah, while He is the Lord of all things? No person earns any sin except against himself only, and no bearer of burdens shall bear the burden of another. That's Quran 6:164. The eyes of the Quran Jesus reopened, and he quit smiling. The little pudgy man who called himself Allah suddenly looked nervous. Rahman went on and said, if Jews and Christians taking on anyone's sin, if Jews and Christians take on anyone's sin, doesn't that contradict the Quran that also says, whoever goes right, then he goes right only for the benefit of his own self, and whichever goes astray, then he goes astray of his own self? No one laden with burdens shall bear another's burden, and it says, and we never punish until we sent a messenger. That's Quran 17:15. The Quran Jesus looked stunned again, and stumbled aback as if drunk and fearful. Rahman continued with, and no bearer of burden shall bear the burden of another's burden, and if one heavily laden calls another to bear his load, nothing of it will be laden, even though it be near of him. That's Quran 35:18. The Quran Jesus tripped over mutt and fell to the ground. Allah and Jibril looked stunned. Oh, Illa, what's the matter with Isa? Oh, Illa, what's the matter with Isa, son of Mary? Jibril asked Allah. The little guy who claimed to be Allah moved about in jerky fashion, as if he had just found out that his biopsy was terminal bone cancer without cure. Right when Rahman then recited, and if we disbelieve, then Allah is not in need of you. He likes not disbelief for his slaves, and if you are grateful, he is pleased wherewith for you. Rahman then shouted with a wild, angry look in his eyes, and no bearer of burdens shall bear the burden of another. Then to your Lord is your return, and he, the little guy over there, who is your father, O Isa, will inform you what you used to do. He, the guy there, is all knower of that which is in the breasts of men. Quran 36:07. Suddenly there was a loud kaboom heard out in the desert. heard in the desert, followed by an earthquake. Is that the fish called Nun that the earth is spread out on? Has such a fish become agitated? Asked Jibril. No, said Allah. For we did cast down mountains as pegs to halt its agitation and protect the earth from the earthquakes, which it would destroy the earth if not for the mountains we did cast down. They all looked to the east and saw that the head of the Daba was lying halfway buried in the playa, the Black Rock Desert. Its great head was lying on its side as it continued to recite the Quran, but recite it in a jumbled way, saying, "And the sun runs to a resting place to set in a muddy spring. It then asks permission of Allah to rise again." Jibril said, "Oh my Allah, oh my Illah, why is it mixing the Quran with the Hadith now?" The Daba then said, "Read in the name of your Lord, who created you from a blood clot. For after it becomes a blood clot for 40 days, it then becomes a morsel of flesh for another 40 days, then becomes bones, then flesh covers the bones, and if the mother discharges sperm first, it becomes a girl." Rahman looked confused and said, "It really now seems confused as to what is Quran and what is Hadith." Allah stretched out his little hand and was just about to say B to try to help the Quran reciting monster up when Rahman asked, "Again, O Allah, what are we to believe? Should we believe Muhammad about sins of really evil Muslims being placed on Jews and Christians, of the Quran, or the Quran that says no bearer of burden shall bear the burden of another?" Jibril looked horrified. Rahman didn't know if the horrified look was caused by the question or because he, Rahman, didn't say, "May Allah pray on him and give him blessing," after saying the name of Allah's apostle. Allah looked up, closed his eyes, and said, "B." Suddenly, a very beautiful blonde girl, of about 6 years old, rose up out of the clay of the playa with a smile on her face. "B," said Allah, and some Arabic-sounding music began. With the music, the girl started dancing about in the moonlight. She looked a lot like a young Goldie Hawn, of whom Rahman always had a lot of sexual attraction for seeing laugh-in reruns on YouTube. "Who is she?" asked Rahman. Is that Aisha, Muhammad's favorite wife?" Totally ignoring Rahman's question, Allah just said, "Which then of the bounties of your Lord will you deny?" Knowing that such a question came from a surah he was named after, Rahman, Rahman laughed and said, "Oh, I get it. The little six-year-old dancing about me is for me, right? Look, I'm not a pedophile, even though she's stunning for human perfection." "Say not pedophile, desist, it would be better for you," shouted Allah. Knowing that Allah's apostle married a 6-year-old and wrote Quran 65:4 that allows Muslim men to divorce a girl who hasn't even had a period yet, so they could then move on to and violate the next little girl, Rahman wasn't surprised that Allah would say such a thing. The girl, the giant monster called the Daba, recited a verse from Quran 1874 through 81 that seemed to be mixed with an explanation saying, As for the innocent youth, the traveling companion Musa did kill. Such a companion killed the boy because he and the boy's parents feared that the boy would grow up to disappoint them or show ungratefulness toward Allah. Allah held out a hand and said, "Be," to see if it could straighten the monster out. The Daba again raised its head to the height it was when it clawed its way out onto the Black Rock Desert. When the Daba was strong enough, it then recited Quran 1880 through 82, mixed with explanations. The parents of the boy killed by the traveling companion of Musa felt secure that Allah would provide them with a new son who would be closer to them in affection. Rahman said, anti-Islamers on the internet hit me with that all the time to show why honor killing is so common in Islam. Ignoring Rahman's statement, Allah said, B. The girl quit dancing. Allah then said, B, B, B. On each B, the girl grew a year in age to the point where she now looked like she was 9 years old. As she looked like a 9-year-old. As she danced again, Allah recited a scripture from the Surah Rahman was named after. What then of the bounty of your Lord will you deny? She's still way too young for me, Allah. She's still way too young for me, Allah. She looks like the age of Aisha when Muhammad diddled her. I thought you were supposed to be all-knowing. If you were, you would know I'm not a pedophile, and instead she would B, said Allah. Each time Allah said B, the girl gained and grew a year in age as she danced. When Allah stopped, Allah said, Behold, she is now sweet 16. The girl stopped dancing and said in a soft, pretty girl voice, Do you like me now? It feels wonderful to grow. Rahman, knowing she was supposed to be 16 in appearance, said, looking up with shifty eyes, no comment. B, said Allah, and the girl grew more. She now stood in a very stunning 18-year-old before Rahman. She purred in a sexual way, saying, Oh, Allah, it felt so good to grow to that size. She looked at Rahman and asked, How do you like me now? I'm legal now. Allah then said, Which then of the bounties of your Lord will you deny? I've got to stop here.